What's going on, family? Samuel Genus here with Predict Your Business, where I help entrepreneurs just like you wear less hats and grow your business in a predictable way. In this video, I want to talk to you about establishing an advantage for your children. If you are a parent, you're thinking about being a parent, or you're friends with someone who is a parent, then this video is important. And I want you to share this with all of the parents you know, all of the soon-to-be parents that you know, because it's very, very important, all right? So let's get to it. So like I said, this video, I want to talk to you about the importance of creating an advantage for your children. I don't know if some of you saw the video that was circulating a couple of months ago on social media. It was basically about a race, and before the race started, the guy who was hosting it all was basically, I guess he was a coach. He was like, hey, all of you who did not have to worry about what you was going to eat for breakfast or lunch or dinner, you didn't have to worry about bills. And he was basically telling them to take 100 or 200 feet steps forward, right? People who didn't have to worry about, how they was going to pay their bills when they was growing up as a kid, take, 75 feet forward. And it was the different advantages, questions he was asking them. And based on the answer, if you answered yes, people who had help with their first car, had help with college, had help with, these various things. He was like, take a step forward. People who had lawyers that they were able to get access to, if they were to get arrested, like, hey, you take, a few steps forward. People who were part of a network when they were growing up. You had people in your network who was able to offer you a job. Your parents can basically speak on your behalf, speak to one of their friends, and you can get a job. And he was like, hey, take a few steps forward. And he basically was saying, look, just because you're starting ahead, well, yeah, it was basically, there was people who was ahead, and then there was people who were still on the starting line. And he was basically saying, some of you have advantages while others do not. And then he also said, those of you who have an advantage, he says, you didn't do anything to get that advantage. These are advantages that, came because you was white or came because of things your parents did. And that's what I got out of it. He was really talking about like systematic racism and stuff like that. But I had an epiphany, and the epiphany that I had was basically these white kids had an advantage because of something their parents did or something their culture did, their community did. And it gave them an advantage over people who were members of a different community. So here I am in Fort Lauderdale, surrounded by these beautiful yachts, beautiful yachts. This is money here, people. A lot of money. I mean, this yacht is so big, it's like, you can just see it's multiple floors. It's like, it looks like a small cruise ship, it's so big. These yachts behind me, just big yachts. But here's the thing I want to share with you. The children of these families, they didn't do anything to deserve this. They didn't create it. They simply inherit it. And that's what I want to share with you. It's the parents' responsibility to give their children the advantage. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you grew up oppressed. I don't care if you come from a generation of slaves. You as an individual, it is your responsibility as a parent to basically position your children for success, to give them the advantage that they need so that they can win the race. It's very, very important. We'll put it this way. There's a race going on and everybody's not starting at the starting line. You get that? There's a race going on and everybody is not starting at the starting line. And the reason why they're not starting at the starting line is because they was given an advantage. right? They have a faster car. And even if you are starting at the same starting line, right? Some of them have a faster car. They have a faster vehicle, right? They know a shorter route. They know the shortcuts and stuff like that. All of these things are important when you are talking about a race. Very, very important when you're talking about a race. And so here I am in Pier 66 in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm basically just walking by these various yachts, because I'm basically staying right at the pier here. I have my suites here, but it's like I got like this view of I forget if this is like a river or something, a canal, whatever, but all these yachts are parked out here. And I couldn't help but think about the various advantages people have because of stuff their parents did. That's what I want you to understand. You have to give your children the advantage they need to succeed. You have to give that to them, because you can't depend on other people, your neighbors, other black people, other white people, other Hispanic people. You can't depend on other people to always give your child the advantage they need, because they're focused on making sure that their children succeed. And if I had the choice of helping my child or somebody else, guess what? I'm going to help my own child. Why? Because they're my primary responsibility. You see what I'm saying? It's not that I'm being selfish, I'm being responsible. And in order to be responsible, you have to have the right priorities, right? You have to have the right priorities. And so, I brought these children into the world, so it's my responsibility to make sure that they survive and that they survive well. You have to do what you got to do as a parent to make sure you give your child an unfair advantage, right? You have to make that responsibility. You got to make sure they do good in school. You got to make sure that they have marketable skills. You have to make sure that you position them with the right, to be a part of the right network. You have to position them to be able to have public speaking skills. You have to position them with the network so that they can be around the right people, so that when they need to get things done, they can get things done. For example, I have 4 children, and I helped put my son in place to grow his e-commerce business, and he's set to be a millionaire, right? Over the next 18 months, right? My daughter, she loves to sing. And I was telling my wife just this morning, I was like, my daughter doesn't need someone to help her do music. That's not all she needs, right? She literally needs a record deal. Because if you understand what a record deal is, a record deal, they put money in your hand. They give you like a signing bonus, right? So you actually have money in your pockets. Why is that important? So you don't have to worry about making money. You don't have to worry about what you're going to eat, how you're going to pay your bills. You got money in your pocket, so you can basically work on creating music. That's why they give you a signing bonus, right? It makes life easier when you can have money in your pocket, you can eat, you can travel, you can do the things you want to do while you're pursuing your passion. So I was like, that's what my daughter needs, because she loves to sing and she's really good and she's getting better and better and better. What she needs is a record deal, and I'm going to be her record deal. My responsibility as a father is to position my daughter with an advantage, an unfair advantage. While others are out there looking for a record deal, I'm going to be the record deal that my daughter needs. So my goal is to make sure she has $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in her pockets so that she can live. She's about to graduate high school, right? So that she can live and she doesn't have to be working at McDonald's or working at Target or working at Walmart or working at some corporate office, when her passion, listen to this, when her passion is music, right? When her passion, when she's working on her skills as becoming a better writer and a better singer, what she needs is money in her pockets so that she can live, pay her bills, right? Drive around in a decent car, be able to eat when she want to eat, be able to go shopping, be able to get her nails done and her hair done and buy clothes, right? And stuff like that, be able to hang out with some of her friends, but without worrying about how she's going to get paid, how she's going to get money. And then she can use her time to be in a studio working on her music. She can use her time with taking voice lessons. She can use her time becoming a better songwriter. She can use her time hanging out with other musicians, and coming up with the right music that fits the message, that fits her, spend her time, networking with people who know how to do videos, music videos and stuff like that. So she can get her message out there, spending her time becoming a better woman, not selling her soul to the devil, right? spending her time, understanding her core convictions, spending her time being able to pursue the things that she wants in life without having to have sex with some crazy dude out here who will help her in her music in exchange for sex, right? So it's my responsibility, right, as her father to be like, okay, how do I position my daughter for success? That's my responsibility. How do I connect her with the right people? How do I make sure there's money in her pocket so she can pursue her passion and her dreams without compromising the convictions that I trained her in as her father? You see what I'm saying? This is why it's so important. You want to make sure that you help your children get the advantage that they need so that they don't have to sell their soul to the devil, so that they don't have to compromise their convictions, so that they don't have to spend the rest of their life chasing something that they will never achieve because they're so busy struggling in life. You see what I'm saying? This stuff is so important. And so when I look at these yachts, I'm thinking about their children. See, their children is going to inherit these yachts. Their children, this pier, this resort that I'm at, their children is inheriting this wealth. These houses that are across the lake, some of these people have children, they have grandkids. They're going to inherit their wealth. And trust me, those kids, those grandkids, they're not going to be struggling. And so what I want to encourage you today is I want you to think about your children that you have right now. I don't care if they're 16, if they're 9, if they're 2 years old, if they're in the womb, if they haven't even been born yet. I want you to think about your future children. I want you to think about the future of your children. What do you want for them? How can you play a substantial role in their life and giving them the advantage they need to succeed? We're not talking about cheating. We're simply talking about positioning them for success. This is very, very important. How do we position our children for success? And that's what I want you to understand. And I want you to really think about this stuff. Understand the passion of your children. Understand what they're trying to accomplish. Understand what they want to be in life. Help guide them. And then also help position them. Help give them that unfair advantage so that they don't have to start at ground zero. They can stand on your shoulders and start at, level 12. And they don't have to struggle trying to get to the top. It's like, you can start them, in a position of advantage where getting to the top is going to be easy. Yes, it's still going to require work for them. We're not talking about giving your children a silver spoon. We're still talking about they still got to be responsible. They still got to work hard. But, the least I can do as a parent is I can help my daughter own her own music studio. You see what I'm saying? I can buy her the mic she needs. I can get her the speakers she needs. I can get her the mixing board she needs. I can connect her with the audio engineers. I can connect her with the musicians. You see what I'm saying? I can give her a piano and stuff like that. I can give her the computer she needs to do this music. I can create a music studio in our house, in the basement or in the garage or somewhere, to give her the advances that she needs so she don't have to spend all this money in a music studio paying $50 and $75 and $100 an hour when she can have all that equipment in her house. You know what I mean? In her apartment or wherever she may be living. And if she's still living with me, hopefully she will, because I don't really want my daughter to leave until they're ready to get married. So I got to make sure that she has all the stuff she needs and the space she needs and the privacy she needs, right? Because as children get older, they do want more privacy. You know what I mean? So my job is to be her partner through all of this. As her father, my job is to make sure that she can get from point A to point B. You see what I'm saying? And this is what I want you to understand as a parent. You have to step up to the plate. It's not going to be easy, but it becomes easier when you start thinking about these things and start strategizing on how you can play this role in your kid's life, because this is very, very important. Give your children the advantage they need. Help them get started. Help them make progress. Help them overcome the challenges. I'm not saying you have to do the work for them, because that's not good, but you're going to have to do some of the work for them so that they don't have to do it and they can start at an advantage. I don't want my kids to start at ground zero. That's my responsibility, to be at ground zero, or my father's responsibility. They're the grandkids, right? Or the great grandkids. So my job is to stand as tall as possible so that they can climb up and stand on my shoulders and have that advantage so that they can reach the next shelf or the next level with ease. And then they would do the exact same thing. They would try to stand as tall as they could stand, right? And get as high as they can get, so that when they have children, their children just basically starts at wherever they left off. There's no need for children today to be starting at ground zero when they have parents who should have conquered ground zero. They should have conquered. You have parents who should have conquered ground 1, ground 2, level 5. Your children should be starting at level 10, level 12, level 20, level 35, right? But it all depends on how you utilize what has been handed to you. My father came from Jamaica Islands, West Indies. You know, he worked in the cane field. I'm not trying to work in the cane field. I'm gonna stand on his shoulders so I don't have to do what he did, right? I'm going to stand on his shoulders. I'm going to listen. And I have listened to his sound counsel. I'm not out here making babies with a bunch of other women. I have a wife. I'm not out here, doing drugs and getting high. You know what I mean? Because that's not what he taught me. He taught me morals and values. I'm not out here acting like a fool, because that's not what he taught me. I'm not out here, buying things that I can't afford, right? Because that's not what he taught me. So therefore, I could benefit from the lessons he taught me, and I can grow. And guess what? I can even achieve things that he never achieved. This is why every time I see my father now, I make sure I put a gift in his hand. I make sure that I give him hundreds of dollars. Why? Because it was his counsel. It was his morals and values. I saw him stay with my mom even when she was sick. I saw how he took care of her. I saw how he was with her all the way to her death. And that's what I got to be to my wife. And me and my wife been married now for 20 years. Right? So actually next month we'll be married for 20 years. So I'm trying to walk in my dad's shoes. I'm trying to be better than him, right? And I'm not saying that as like an insult or anything. I'm just trying to be better than him. Why? Because he wants me to be better than him. You see what I'm saying? And I told my son that he needs to be better than me. Okay? He needs to be better than me in every aspect of the word. And I'm doing my best to help him be better than me. So here he is at 19 years old, riding around in Mercedes and BMWs. When I was 19, I was riding my dad's old beat up station wagon. You see what I'm saying? So now because I listened to my father and followed his instructions, I was able to, my father had a little side business. He always had a little side hustle. I picked up on that side hustle and I developed a business, a corporation, a business that actually makes more money than I've ever made on any of my jobs that I've worked at, right? So now I'm able to position my children to give them an advantage. Y'all feel me? So my son never had to work for nobody. He doesn't know what it feels like to work for McDonald's, to work for Walmart, to work for Kmart, to work for Target. He doesn't know what it feels like to work at Burger King. He doesn't know what it feels like to work at a supermarket. See, these are the places I had to work at when I was like 16 and 17, 18 years old. You know what I mean? My son didn't have to do any of that. My son is making more money than adults, and my son didn't even graduate high school yet. He will graduate high school next month. Right? This is the advantage that I'm giving him. And my household is set to be one of the 1%. In a couple of months, me and my family, we're going to be a part of the 1%. Did you know that in order to be a part of the 1% here in America, you have to be making over $422,000 a year, right? That's where me and my family is headed. Now think about all of the advantages they're going to have for being part of a household that's the 1% of America. That's what I want for your life, right? And you can do it. Trust me, you can do it. A lot of people think the 1% is made up of just billionaires and people who's worth $50 billion and stuff. No, to be a part of the 1% of America, you just have to be making $422,000 a year. You need to have an annual income, an annual household income of $422,000 a year. And between you, your wife, and your children, if y'all learn how to walk as a family unit, together y'all can bring in that. And then you'll get so good to the point where you alone will bring that in, or your wife alone will bring that in, or your children will become so successful that your son alone by himself, he'll make $400,000, $422,000 a year, all by himself. I'm trying to get you all to think as a corporation, think as a business, think as one unit. As a family, y'all need to, as a household, you need to bring in $422,000 a year. And you can do that. If you and your wife get on the same page, if you and your children get on the same page, you're going to be able to bring that income in. And when you bring it in, that's when y'all need to have another family meeting, right? To be like, okay, now what do we do with all this wealth? What do we do with all this cash? What do we do with all this money? How do we make a boss move, a family move that will quadruple that money from $422,000 a year to, almost $2 million a year? And it could be done. You just have to move as a unit. Stop having all of these separate visions and ideas for your family, of each person working on their own little pet project, but come together as a family, pool your resources together as a family, and you'll see how quickly you'll be able to get to that 1% on an annual basis, all right? So I just want to encourage you, take care of your children, give them the advances they need, because when they get the advantage, guess what? When your behind turns 60 years old, 70 years old, and you can't walk like you want to walk, you can't run like you want to run, you're not always able to drive yourself around, your children are going to be the ones who's going to have your back. And some of you may not be religious, but I am. And here's something that the Bible says. The Bible says children are an inheritance from the Lord. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them, for they shall speak to his enemies at the gates. So when you give your children the advantage, right? When you have children, that's God, that's the creator of the universe blessing you with yourself, because guess what? Your children are an extension of you. You're duplicating yourself. You're multiplying yourself when you have children. And not only are you supposed to multiply yourself, you're supposed to make sure that your children are as smart as you or smarter than you, so that you can accomplish great things in the world. So he gives you children. Why? Because that's more hands that can help you on a farm. That's more hands that can help you when you're hunting. That's more hands that can help you during military conflict, because now you have children. You have strong young men, strong young women who can fight your battles for you, who can strategize with you, who can help you accomplish things together, because one can chase 1,000, but two can put 2,000 to a flight. That's another biblical proverb, right? But I don't want to preach to you right now, because this is not Sunday morning. We're not in church, but it's still a powerful principle to live by. That look at your children as assets. Look at your children as employees in your corporation. Look at your children as citizens of your nation, of your kingdom, and make sure that they have what it takes to take your kingdom to the next level. All right. This is Samuel Genis with YouShare 360. I will see you in the next video. Take care.